Have you checked the children?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Bienvenidos, Fright fans. Welcome once again to the horror show. I'm Jaime and Fuego, and this is another solo review from yours truly because honestly, not a lot of other people wanted to watch the zaniness that is Verotika, written and directed by Glenn Danzig and based off of 3 of the stories from his Verotika comic line. That has been going on since, boy, I want to say the 1990s is when he initially launched it at some particular point. So, yeah, I mean, he's been trying to get this together for a while, and I would imagine finding financing was maybe a little bit on the difficult side, but he finally did it. Crazy bastard. And I must say that even if I have heard a lot of behind-the-scenes negativity about none other than Mr. Danzig, yes, I love his music, whether it's, Back to the Misfits or Sam Hain, as he mispronounces it. I know it's Saween, but he pronounced it as Sam Hain for whatever reason. Those jazzy boys, I don't know what they're thinking sometimes, but... And then also his namesake. I mean, all of the different iterations of Danzig, whether it's the classic lineup from those first 4 records, or from 5 onward to 6 and 7 and all that different stuff. I mean, yeah, I have enjoyed everything with the exception of the Skeletons in the Closet, I think it was, the covers record, and even his most recent. I don't know, the production quality has gone down significantly since. Anyway, yeah. That is neither here nor there. I still hold him in affinity, and so I had to eventually check this out. And boy, is it something. It is definitely something. So we have a trio of tales, and they are all kind of crypt-keepered by this, murderous woman who's got little devil horns going on, and she's got the little upside-down crosses painted on her face, and she kills a woman by poking out her eyes at the very beginning. But the issue with her is that besides being pretty enough, she doesn't really have much personality at all. So it's not Crypt Keeper status where like poking jokes and funny. It's not even really like Rod Sterling ominousness, Twilight Zone or anything like that. It's really just very boring. And I mean, even when she comes in between tales and all she really says is, here's our next tale. And then it just goes right into the next tale. And it's really just kind of lame in that regard. And I must say, the third story, that is kind of an Elizabeth Bathory sort of thing, that's solid enough, but the other 2, especially the first one that has these horrible French accents throughout, and there is this little white spider that turns into a full person and is like going around cracking necks. The French accents are so absolutely awful in that. The middle story about strippers, I mean, whatever. So overall impressions just around that out is that, yeah, it's maybe that so bad it's good sort of amusing fashion where you could at least find it funny, with how terrible the acting is. A lot of porn stars apparently were trying to act in this film, so that's laughable enough. And at least in the third act there's some decent stuff going on. But just to round out the rest of the story right there, you've got a spider killer in the first part. Second part, you've got a stripper who is cutting off people's faces. And then the third part is a woman who, very Bathory status, is bathing in people's blood. And that is the strongest of the 3 stories. The French story is so laughable with Les Petits Net Breaker. And the French accents from these people are just goddamned awful. And the strippers acting in the second bit is really poor as well. But the third one, being a period piece as well, I really was, of the 3, it's the most tolerable. It's probably the closest thing to the violent erotica that Danzig was trying to put together for this. But yeah, there's not really much else to merit as far as the storytelling goes. It's very hackneyed. And, to segue into the acting, these are not professional real actors for the most part, and I guess credit to some of these porn people for kind of being serviceable. But yeah, all of the police in this are just god awful because you do have them on the scene in 2 of the 3 stories. The strippers and the women of the night that you have in the first 2 stories, they are, but I mean, a lot of them are pretty to look at, but the line delivery is awful, and they're supposed to be scared of certain things, and they're definitely just not showing the sheer terror that you would need and expect from these actors, and it is almost laughable at times, a lot of these performances. But back to that third one, the woman who is bleeding virgins and just bathing in their blood, and also even some of the women that she is taking in to drain, they are the best of the lot of this ensemble in the anthology. But the acting from our kind of lady who is, she's, I don't know, the equivalent of the Crypt Keeper or the Rod Serling, like I was saying, the wraparound person, she's terrible. She is really, really bad. Effects-wise, I guess the spider, the makeup of it is pretty dope, but when you see just the other appendages besides what I'm assuming are the actual arms of this person, it looks pretty terrible. And also when he's like trying to rape this woman in her dreams and stuff, it's just so ridiculously over the top. The face cutting stuff, it's okay, but it's not as grimy and grotesque as I would have liked. I guess credit to Danzig for what I would imagine is a shoestring budget. Like, he had so little to work with, and you can tell from the size of the sets and so many other aspects of this production and just how professional it looks, that including the horrible CGI in the opening of the film of this spider like crawling down onto this person's face, skin coming off of a head and all this. It's very amateurish, but there is some sort of weird cheese charm to it as well. So I mean, I don't know. The set design though in the third act, the third story, is actually pretty damn good, and the crazy tub that they made with all of these skeletons and pieces of people on it that she's actually bathing in, not too bad. So, I mean, I don't know. This is definitely, if you're a Danzig fanboy like I am, you could probably be into this, but as a whole, I think most other casual audiences would probably watch this and have the same reaction that people at Cinepocalypse when he initially debuted this last year in Chicago. They were apparently laughing when they weren't supposed to be laughing, and I don't know if that was always the case, because there are some things that are definitely played for laughs, where the strippers are like talking to the cops and they're saying, "What are you gonna do, shoot us or something?" But the dialogue delivery is just so awful. But yeah, it's definitely, it has the possibility to become something like The Room, or something as schlocky as a lot of the Trauma and the Full Moon stuff, because it is on that par of bad that some people might find entertaining in how terrible it is. But yeah, I can't necessarily recommend this aside from those that want to laugh or those who are the hardcore Danzig completists like myself. His score, though, as I didn't mention music, just to throw that in there at the end, the score is actually good. I like the Black Aria stuff, where he did these 2 instrumental only albums, and it's that same sort of thing where you hear like kind of his kind of stuff in the background, and that's me making it funnier than it actually is. There's some cool stuff with piano and just weird ambient effects, and so the score is as solid as I would have expected from Danzig. But everything else, you can tell this is a first-time director who's maybe a little in over his head, but I don't know, there is a strange bit of charm to the stupidity of this movie. So yeah, I've been Jaime and Fuego, and gracias once more for tuning in for stuff here. If you would like to actually tell us something that you would like us to review, go into the description below, because we have our own Patreon here on the Horror Show. You can request films for us to review. A slightly higher tier, you can request a commentary where we will actually watch the entirety of a flick and we'll give our thoughts throughout. And then if you want to be really bold and supremely badass and supportive, we have a Boogie Box, which I think is our top tier if I'm not mistaken. That's where we curate a monthly package for your support. Got loads of cool swag from stuff that we get from other people that we know in the horror industry. So specifically put together from Cecil and the crew over here. So gracias once again, and until next time, Fright fans, remember, stay scared, stay indoors, and watch more horror.